we've sort of been in a holding pattern for a little while now,
Right.
maybe partly because of those valuation concerns, but a real correction, on the other side of that, there could be a good time to buy, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, the big money's in the big swing. And I would just
Yeah.
say that there's definitely been a lot of stocks that have had big runs in the last few months, clearly.
Yeah.
There's been more stocks that have not. So, and
Yeah.
I don't just mean like, oh, transports or I'm not talking that. I'm talking cloud software. I'm talking cybersecurity. I'm talking, retail looks horrible. I mean, retail,
Yeah.
Chipotle and Kava, Jesus.
Yeah.
I'm not saying those are going to come out and be huge winners to, 5 weeks from now or something, but there's been a lot of like growth areas, crypto, that hasn't really done much. So, yeah, I think if we had a correction, I mean, I never root for it, but I mean, if it happened, they do happen. We've had 7 months up without any selling. I mean,
Yeah.
it's been like 3 day pullback. So
Right.
if we do have one, I don't know how long it will last or whatever, but yes, I think we'll come out of it. And I do think we'll have I think we'll have some fresh leaders, number one, that have good stories, good numbers, good liquidity, and or some of these hot names will pull back and they will etch, new launching pads and stuff like that after some steam comes out of them. So we'll see how it goes. I think just staying flexible here is the best way to do it. I know, I like to come on here and say, I'm sure I did. You guys had us on in April or May saying blast off indicators, we're buying, or like, hey, we just broke the 200-day line, we're 80% in cash. I think right now it's a little bit, obviously, in the middle of those two.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you are looking at, maybe it's like a catalyst that could trigger that next leg up? So, we come out of correction or not, we have this period of uncertainty. Like, where's the next leg higher coming from, do you think?
Yeah, it's a good question, Brad. I was actually thinking about this today, sort of in the opposite sense, kind of like with some of these names, I'm like, how many more deals, can be announced for the data center or whatever. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? For individual stocks, it can help, like if it's a smaller company, they make a deal with OpenAI. But for the broad group, you're kind of like, it feels like maybe some of this has been discounted for now. I don't have a good answer for you, but
Yeah.
maybe one of it would be, like I was saying, there's these other areas that are growth medical, stuff like that. And there's been some things that are starting to emerge, but there could be more, some new, all of a sudden, some drug approval or something that, the market starts to focus on. It's not like a macro thing, but it's like, oh, there's these blockbuster drugs that are coming on board and that, or something like that, where maybe the market can focus on some new leadership. But, I don't really know. It could be maybe the Supreme Court strikes down tariffs. I mean, I really don't know. We'll just take it as it comes.
Is there, you mentioned a couple sort of sectors there. Is there one that you have your eye on for, I guess that might be more curious or bullish on right now than others, I guess non-AI,
Right.
non-AI group.
Yeah. Well, outside of AI, I mean, I think I just mentioned them, but I guess I would say I have noticed there have been more medical names. They popped up a few weeks ago, then they kind of chilled out. Some more have popped up. Sometimes that's a little defensive. I'm talking growth, smaller to mid cap. I'm not talking like stodgy, Pfizer or whatever. So that does intrigue me because there's been a lot of stocks there that have good numbers and sales and earnings and huge estimates and decent sized valuations too. But it's not like they're $100 billion or something. So I do think that, and I do think, honestly, one thing it's been an unusual year, not to go on a tangent, where to me, and this isn't excuses or anything, but like, relative strength, like in the decline in February, March, you had a lot of stocks hold up relatively well. They got hit, but they like held their 200-day line and the market did and stuff like that. And then they popped to new highs in May, like ahead of the market. And you're like, oh, this is going to be a leader. But a lot of those software, payments, cybersecurity did have a run into like June, but they kind of either ran for, a month or, whatever. And then they've just been stalling out since June, So I think cybersecurity, medical, stuff like that seem like the two growth areas where there's legitimate stocks, liquid stocks that institutions play in, but for one reason or another, they just haven't really moved that much, since they spiked in May and June. So I think those could, you know, get going.